Today is a huge day for crypto.com and the Cronos coin. We have seen a huge jump in the past 24 hours, and I'm sure lots of you are wondering why. Why is Cronos such a big hit right now? Well, in this video, let's get into it. I'm Brett at CryptoGX, and in this video, we're going over some recent news. We've seen Cronos jump up 20% in the last 24 hours, really, and I'm sure you're all wondering why. So let's jump into what this coin is, why it's jumping, and what this could mean for the future. So let's take a look at coinmarketcap.com. This is Cronos. This is the native token for crypto.com. If you're not familiar, crypto.com is one of the largest apps for buying and selling crypto. And you can see that their coin right here is now ranked number 31. I like to take a look at the trending cryptocurrencies page on Crypto Market Cap, and you can see that they are the number one right now. I was just taking a look through this today, saw that they were number one. Actually, they were probably number 2 or 3 earlier this morning. And you can see right here, the last 7 days, their gigantic pump here in the last couple days, or in the last 24 hours, really. And the reason why I even looked into it was because of that big pump. And I was like, okay, what's the deal here? Why is Cronos pumping? So let's find out. Now, Cronos is, as I mentioned, the native token for crypto.com. They use it to give out rewards and things like that. And it's a really big deal for the crypto.com ecosystem. But why is it such an important thing in the crypto ecosystem as a whole? Well, if we take a look, as you can see, the community sentiment is huge. Everybody's bullish on it right now, or at least 85% of people are. And you can see in their news section right here, Cronos jumps 15% after Truth Social ETF filing. And that is a massive, massive announcement. It is a big, big deal. If you're not familiar with ETFs, they are exchange traded funds. These are things that are coming up very, very recently, especially in the current crypto cycle for lots of different coins. Essentially, what they mean is that it's an investment that people can purchase on their regular brokerage with, somebody like Fidelity or BlackRock that is not buying the actual crypto itself. Now, you can see a little bit of the correlation, the effect on price here when it comes to ETF volume as well as the price. So if we're looking back to November, see this gigantic spike from October that it just ramps up into November. That was when we also had a very huge spike in the Bitcoin price if you are, keeping an eye on it. If I open up a basic Bitcoin chart here on TradingView, this is not the detailed chart, but you can see back here, this is that November pump. October was nice and slow, and then boom, beginning in November, gigantic pump in the Bitcoin price. If we go back to the ETF data, there was also a huge spike in volume there. So this is basically money flowing into the ETFs. It is very, very well correlated with the Bitcoin price. So when there's an announcement, as you can see here on Cronos, when there's an announcement of one of these coins being included in an ETF filing, that is a big deal. So let's dive into what this actually means. So here's the news article right here. CRO rises 15% following Truth Social ETF announcement. Now, essentially what they're saying here is that Truth Social is an entity that filed with the US Securities and Exchange Commission to have a new ETF that includes all sorts of crypto blue chips. Basically, instead of just being an ETF that tracks the price of, let's say, Bitcoin, this is going to put a group of different assets in there. And with that in mind, you can see the allocation. 70% is going to be going to Bitcoin, 15% is going to Ethereum, 8% is going to Solana, 5% to Cronos, and 2% to XRP, which to me is kind of wild that you would put Cronos over XRP. XRP should probably be above Solana in my opinion, but hands up, don't shoot on that one. I am an XRP stan, but 5% is, a pretty big deal when it comes to being allocated in a massive ETF that's actually being filed with the SEC. Now, what does that mean? It's just being filed with the SEC. So this just means that Truth Social is going to the SEC and they're like, hey, this is what we want to create. We want to create this investment vehicle and put it out there for people to be able to buy. Doesn't mean that it's actually released. So this is not on the market. You can't buy it right now. What does that mean? This is just a sort of hype pump based on the potential for Cronos to be available in an ETF at some point. People are going, oh my God, this is actually gonna, they're hoping this is gonna be a thing one day. We believe in it. We better buy some now because, at some point more people are gonna have the ability to be buying into this ETF. That's gonna be putting more confidence into it. That's gonna be having more money flow into it. We better buy it now. And so all those buys are stacking up and driving that increase in that 15% and more increase in Cronos' price today. So what does does that actually mean for when this ETF actually is going to be launched? So obviously we know the term buy the rumor, sell the news. This is news and it pumped. So if there was any sort of rumor, people would probably typically be wanting to sell now that there's this huge pump. But this is just an announcement of basically the fact that there will be an ETF with Cronos in it sometime in the future if the SEC approves it. So this is almost kind of like rumor on its own because the money hasn't flown in from this ETF yet. So the question now is this ETF going to have a positive effect in the future on Cronos? Well, what we need to do is look at previous ETF launches. And the simplest one is Bitcoin. When they had announcements of ETFs, the price pumped. When they had the launch of ETFs, what happened? Well, we can look back and there have been billions and billions of inflows into Bitcoin investing once those ETFs actually launched. So looking at this kind of historically, that's going to allow lots more money to flow into Cronos and it's going to give it even more of a pump in the future. But, when is that? How do we know when that's going to be? Well, that's a really tough one because the SEC can kind of just do whatever they want. It's probably going to take a while. There have been a lot of ETFs that were announced recently and, that got introduced to the SEC, like Solana ETFs and XRP ETFs, and they're kind of trying to be on a fast track, but, we don't really know because the SEC can take as long as they want to. So we got to keep in mind that the crypto bull run is going to end sometime, at least based on typical historical trends, in the next 3 months. And it's probably pretty safe to assume that the ETFs are not going to be released, at least this particular one just being announced, probably not going to get released, in my opinion, before the end of this crypto bull run. But, I'm curious what you guys think. If you guys are going to be getting into Cronos at the moment, I have it in my portfolio just a little bit because I've liked the exposure. You get rewards anyway when you're using crypto.com. But let me know in the comments what you think about Cronos. I think it's definitely a great sign that it's getting included because before I kind of thought it was just kind of a throwaway rewards-based coin for the crypto.com app, but now we're seeing some actual adoption to it. So that's definitely a good sign in my opinion. I've also included links down below to Coinbase and crypto.com where you'll get at least $50 in crypto just for signing up with those links. And if you're interested in meme coins, I'll include a link to MoonShot where you can claim some free meme coins just for signing up with that link. But if you enjoyed this video, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure to drop a like and a subscribe. I will catch you in the next one.